Hey guys, have you ever wondered what it's like to run a grooming business without a salon or a van? What if you could build your client base by showing up at their door? No shop, no overhead, just skills, trust, and hustle. If you've ever thought about doing things differently, then this one's for you. Welcome to Beyond the Shears, where groomers get business savvy. Today, we are featuring another amazing story in our Spotlight series, a look at real grooming business owners and how they built their path. Our guest today is Karli Steeves, owner of Pup Culture Grooming in San Antonio, Texas. Karli has been grooming for 11 years and recently stepped into business ownership with a bold move, launching her business as a housecall groomer, meaning she grooms pets inside her clients' homes. We are going to talk about how she got started, what housecall grooming really looks like behind the scenes, and the things she has had to learn as a new business owner. So let's jump in. Karli, thank you so much for joining us. I'm very happy to have you on the podcast. I love this series, the Spotlight series, where I get to know all of you groomers a little bit better. This is awesome. So I want to learn a little bit more about you and your journey into business ownership. So let's start from the beginning. So can you take us back and how did you get started in grooming?
Yeah, so being a bather was my first ever job actually when I was 19. And I got started at it because my stepmom worked at PetSmart as a dog groomer. And I had just gotten a new dog. She was nuts. And I was just like very calm about her being like crazy. And she was like, I think you should, because I was kind of looking for a job. I didn't know what I was doing. And she was like, I think you should try, like, at least try bathing out, because I think you can probably handle dogs really well based on my dog, Cora. And I was like, okay. And I did. And I just loved it, have stuck with it ever since, because it's just been such a great job for me.
So, quick question. So, what was it like actually working at PetSmart in the early days, like learning the ropes, so to
Oh,
speak?
honestly, I liked it. I had a really good academy trainer. Like I had such a good experience with her on day one. We like bathed a bunch of like really difficult dogs so she could like garner, like gauge, I guess, our level and our patience and everything. And then from day one, it was like, okay, you're grooming a poodle, and then you're doing a cocker cut, and then XYZ. And she was just so, I'd like such a good start. It was a lot less strict back then. So, but it was kind of a double-edged sword, because while it was like less strict, nowadays, like if a dog is being like, has health issues or being a little too crazy, you're encouraged to send it home. And back then it was like, this is what it is. You have to power through it. So it was very different 10 years ago than it is now. But I I liked PetSmart when I worked there.
From what I've heard, there's a lot of things that are happening in terms of like what the big box stores receiving kind of a negative label, so to speak. And so, but honestly, the more and more I talk to a lot of the groomers, the ones that started out at places like PetSmart, for example, they're the ones that feel that they have a really solid foundation as far as the basics of grooming. And I find that to be more and more true. What do you think about that?
I honestly, absolutely. And I always say, like, if you can survive a corporate setting, you can survive anything. Because a lot of the clients there were nuts when I was there, and which is very frustrating. But I think like going through that and just like having like, I don't know, it was like trial by fire. And now I feel like I can handle anything, because even my craziest client now, I was like, oh, I remember 10 years ago, this person did this outlandish thing at PetSmart, and it's like nothing in comparison. But I think I did like it a lot. Because the salons I worked at anyway, the team was really tight knit. And it was like, I really liked, I think I worked at 3 salons. And honestly, all 3 salons, I really liked everybody in there. I've just had, maybe I'm one of the lucky ones that had really good experiences with my
You
team.
are.
My best friend at PetSmart when I first started, we're still friends now. Um, and I think what I miss about that and working in salons like that is like bouncing ideas off of each other. And I guess that's not just like corporate. Now that I work alone, I don't get to like be like, how would you do this? Or like, I'm having a hard time this way. Do you have another way to do it? I have to like go online and like research that myself instead of just like talking to a coworker about it. Um, But yeah, I really, honestly, I think PetSmart really set me up for success. Anytime anybody's wondering about getting into grooming, I'm like, you should probably try corporate. And if you can survive that and like go through it, you'll probably be fine doing whatever you want after that.
Yeah, it sounds like it really, like you said, when you do corporate or anytime you work in a public setting, right? You're
Yeah,
going to deal with some pretty bodacious experiences, but it sounds like corporate really does set you up for success in terms of customer service at the very least. So you have to be able to handle all kinds of different clients and clientele that come through there, not just the dogs. Typically, what I've always discovered with groomers is that the dogs, of course, some of them do have behavioral issues and things, but for the most part, the dogs are a lot better to deal with and a lot easier to deal with than their humans. So,
absolutely. 100%.
yeah, yeah, awesome, awesome. Okay, so I know that you're one of these unicorns that had a really great setting. It sounds like in all the salons that you worked with. So, congratulations for that, because I have heard some not so nice stories in the past. But just out of curiosity, what made you want to go out on your own and start your own business?
Well, honestly, starting my own business was kind of a happy accident. I was working for a mobile groomer who I really liked working for them actually. But on the side, for side income, I would groom like friends' dogs and then like friends of friends' dogs. And so I had all the equipment to do it that way. And with this business, it wasn't like panning out for the business actually. And I was like, oh, I really don't want to go back to a salon. I think I'm going to try to find another mobile groomer to work for. But in the interim, I wanted to like go to school to get a communications degree. So I was like kind of shopping around for a new job that would accommodate my school schedule while doing like friends' dogs and stuff. My clients that knew that I wasn't going to be at that business were like, well, where are you going? And I was like, well, I don't know yet, but I have everything I need to groom dogs. Like already, I groom my dog at home. Would you be okay with that? And I was really expecting kind of a negative reaction. Like I was expecting people to be like, oh, no, I don't want you to come inside my house, or I don't want it to get dirty inside. And like everybody was like, oh my gosh, yes, that would be wonderful. Like I have a laundry room you can work in. You can work in my bathroom. And I was like, oh, okay. And so it started out with me like keeping my like really loyal clients that really wanted to stay with me and friends. And then they started telling people and they started telling neighbors. And then it kind of like blew up overnight where I didn't need to find like another job to accommodate my school schedule. Like I made it. But then that came with the, oh my gosh, okay, now I have to make this like actually official. Like I have to file an LLC and I have to like do everything right. I'm not just gonna like, be sneaky about it. So it was really a happy accident that I kind of fell into Housecall.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like, you started off the business a little bit slowly. So that's oftentimes what I tell a lot of people that are wanting to get into business for themselves. I just tell them pretty much if you can do this where you're just doing it like on the side as like a side hustle, so to speak, and kind of get into it and make sure you're going to like it. Because I will be honest, and you can speak to this better than I could, but I would say that owning and running your own business a little bit different setup than actually working for a corporate or even another groom shop for sure.
Oh, 1,000%. And I think another thing that people see is like they'll just see the take home, or not the take home, but like your total. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, you don't have like you barely have any overhead. And look at all this money you're making. And I'm like, you pay so much in taxes though. You pay a lot in taxes, and then like your car gets used for crazy miles every day. So the value of that is going down so fast. So there's a lot of little things that you don't really think of on like the business end of it.
Yeah, yeah. And we'll get into the business here and more in just a few minutes because I do want to dive into that because let's face it, folks, Pet Biz Advisor, I love the business side of things. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. So when you first started your business, now you kind of did tell me obviously that it was a happy accident that you kind of got into it. So I was kind of interested in as far as did you plan to always be house call only, but it doesn't sound like that. It just kind of fell into your lap. It sounded like.
Yeah, so I worked at like brick and mortar salons for years and years, and I think I only did mobile for about 2 years, and I love doing mobile grooming. So my plan when I found out that the company I was working for like wasn't probably going to be in business much longer, is I was like, I really want to save up for a truck and a trailer. Like, I would love to do mobile grooming again. And yeah, and that's what my plan was. But honestly, like, house call has been so good for me. And it's like a really, it's a niche that I didn't know so many people sought. But people really like being able to have their dogs. Like, they like being able to like check in every now and then. And like, actually, some people just want to watch it. Um, I think there's like a comfort in knowing that their dog's like right there, not even just like in the driveway or anything.
Yeah, awesome. So let's get into it. So let's dive more into what house call life itself is for our listeners. So if you don't mind walking us through this, how does house call grooming work kind of step by step? Like, what is one of the first things you do when you get there, your setup, and things like that?
Yeah. So one of the things that I think people don't really think about is like the setting up and tearing down is actually really physically intensive. It's a little like harder physically, I feel like, because I don't have like a hydraulic table. Like, I'm having to hunch over sometimes or crouch down to get like angles. But I pull in, I have all of my equipment. I have it like loaded on a dolly. I've got it like set up to a science now. But yeah, I just pull in. Usually I set up in either a bathroom or a kitchen, or the biggest two places. So I have like a folding table that unfolds. I have a pop-up tub if there's no like sink or anything, so I don't have to hunch down, groom the dog. I carry a vacuum with me, so afterwards, when everything's done, I just vacuum up. And
So you bring with you, as far as most of your things, you said um, you don't really have the hydraulic table, which unfortunately is kind of a bummer because obviously those things are huge and massively heavy. You can't bring one, but I know they are so nice because you can raise them up and down.
I
So
miss them.
yeah, I bet. So, but what are the things that you do bring with you? You said you bring the pop-up tub if they don't have like a sink or a higher level elevated situation. But what do the clients typically provide? Do they provide anything on their end?
So I try to bring absolutely everything, like all my shampoos, my dryer, towels. Sometimes I forget the towels, but that's honestly probably the only thing they have to provide sometimes. But I try to like bring absolutely everything so they don't have to worry about like anything. If they have a shampoo or something they really want me to use, I will. But yeah, I just need an outlet. That my usual spiel when people like ask about booking an appointment is that I need an outlet, a water source to like wash them, and just like enough room to walk around my table. And everything else I bring, all my shears, clippers, shampoos, ear cleaner, teeth brushing, all that.
Okay. So the whole gambit. I gotcha. So in this process, are there any safety or cleanliness concerns that you've had to figure out basically? Because I know probably not being in an actual specialized location as far as a brick and mortar, it probably looks a little different, but any kind of safety issues that you might have had to overcome with that?
Yeah, having the owners try to help out that was the biggest
Oh
one.
my goodness.
The one helped
Yeah.
out so bad. And it had to be like you kind of have to be, I'm not gonna say stern, but you definitely have to be good at like setting like boundaries with people if you do house call. Because they don't mean like anything by it. They truly like just want to help. But it has to be like,
Mhm.
okay, well, if you're gonna try brushing his ears while I'm doing his pop pads, like that's gonna make him go nuts. So don't do that. But that was probably the biggest safety concern, was like having people and be like, no, you can't. I cannot let you cut your dog's hair, actually. Like, that's why I'm here. People really,
Yeah.
other than that, I think another kind of learning curve was, I feel like in a salon or even mobile, you have the same setup every single time. So you know where everything is. And when you're doing house call, it's like different every single time. Even at the same place, sometimes like things will be moved around and you have to work around something. So you kind of have a different setup almost every single time you're grooming. And now I'm used to it, but before it'd kind of get me off track because I'd be like, oh, where's my whatever? Where's this again?
Yeah, and so I would imagine, going back to the pet parent wanting to help. When you mentioned earlier, in our conversation, you said something about how they'll sometimes pop in, and in my mind, I immediately went, "Oh no, do they really?" Because obviously, yes, they would. They just want to peek their head in. And I remember one of the biggest complaints that most groomers have is when mom and dad show up a little early to the groom and then the dog starts going crazy because they see mom
Yeah.
and dad. They're like, okay, I get to leave now. And so that can make them I couldn't imagine, honestly, I could not imagine having to deal with that. I'm like, leave me alone, please stay gone.
Yeah, I honestly, like, you have to be okay with people. Like, some people just sit there and talk to me the whole time, and I'm a yapper, so I don't mind, but you have to be okay with people, like, watching you, and not just people watching you, like, the owners watching you groom their dog, and I know for a lot of people, that's, like, makes you really nervous to be under that kinda, like, pressure of, like, "Okay, I have to do everything right." But it was honestly, it was never something that bothered me, even working in corporate, if people were, like, popping in, I'd just be like, "Hey, it's almost done, like, go over there." But it never, like, made me frustrated, and I think that's probably another reason why Housecall has been good to me, because I know that's so frustrating for a lot of people, but you really do have to be okay with, like, and even if the person's not there, I think you have to, like, assume that there's a camera in the room. That's what I always tell everybody, like, I'm always assumed, like, even if I'm alone and no one's home, that I'm being watched, and that doesn't bother me at all, but for some people, I think that would be, like, probably a not great thing.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, just out of curiosity on a kind of a more, professional but personal level too, do you compete in any competitions with grooming competitions at all?
Not yet. I really
Okay.
want to.
Okay. I was gonna say, because that would set you up really for success because you're used to people watching you continuously. So
Mhm.
you probably would do really well in the grooming competitions because you have a leg up from a lot of people that way. So next question that I personally have is how do you handle scheduling or travel time between homes, between visits?
Yeah, honestly, I think if I didn't do mobile grooming before this, I would be so lost. Like, I would not know what to do. But with mobile, it was really helpful. Like, I guess learning how to map places. And before mobile, I didn't really know like the layout of my city at all. But now, since I've been driving so much, if someone's like, I'm in Castle Hills, I can be like, oh, I'm going there on Tuesday, just because I know the area so well now. But sometimes it can be hard because, like, ideally, I love it when my like schedule just works perfectly and I have a bunch of people in the same area every single day. But sometimes it doesn't work out like that. Sometimes I'm like driving all over the place. I gave myself a really bad driving route, and it's just kind of it is what it is because I don't want to ask anyone to reschedule just to make it like easier for me for one day. Yeah, I'm like, okay, I messed up my schedule, so I'm just gonna have like a really bad driving day for today. And that's it is what it is.
Now, I understand that obviously your fees are set a certain way, and we won't get into fee schedules just yet, but I am curious, when you go to places, do you have like a driving fee or anything like that to come to them, or is that booked in with your overall fees?
That's just booked in with the overall fee. What I started doing actually, because I just have like one like fee for each dog. But if you have like four or more dogs, then you get a discount. And I felt like that was like a better wordage. Like everyone's like, oh, a discount instead of me being like, well, I'm only charging this driving fee and then each dog is this much. I feel like when I was in mobile and I would say that, people would be like, well, can you give me a discount because I have so many dogs? So now I just like lump them all together with the same price. But if they have more than four dogs or something, I give them a discount, but it rounds out to as much as it would be doing the driving and then each individual thing, but it just sounds better. So
Obviously, this type of service may or may not be for every pet or every pet human or every pet client. So, what kind of pets or clients are not a good fit for this, in your opinion?
specifically for house call, there's some people that can do dogs that shed a ton. I try not to do them. I'll do them on a case by case basis. Like if I can be in the yard, it has to be so specific. And the reason is inside, if I'm like blow drying a dog that sheds a ton, I've tried the mosquito net. I've tried so many things. I've tried doing a really good clean. There's just so much hair that gets stuck to everything inside. And I don't really think those are super good fits. I will take them if like I can be outside in a nice shaded area where we're not like cooking in the sun and they're okay with the hair being everywhere. But that's kind of the stipulation with it because it's just the cleanup is way too crazy. Um, so I personally don't think that dogs that shed a lot are really great fit. Some people do it, but I try not to. Really, really reactive dogs, personally, I don't think are super great just because it's only you. And I honestly, I don't do super, super reactive dogs because I give them like a reaction. I can't help it. But if a dog's like, "Rah," I'm like, "Ah!" And then it just feeds into that, like, they're like, oh, I can scare you. And I'm like, I'm never going to get like mad or like upset or anything. But I think just the like gasp and like jump back makes them be like, oh, I got you. And so I'm just bad fit for those kind of dogs. If it's a dog that like I know they don't like their nails and I know that's coming, that's one thing. I can handle that. But if it's a dog that's just like kind of reactive for a bunch of random things and I can't map what that's going to be, I'm like, that's not a good fit for me because I'm going to scream and it's going to make his behavior worse.
I know. Yeah, that would be me too, though. I mean, because you never know, because dogs, even so, honestly, some of the best dogs that are non-reactive can have a bad day, right? They can have a bad day, and you never know. And so I could definitely see why I would be the same way. I would be like jumping back, like, you're not like you're super sweet, but those teeth are right there beside me, So I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I get nervous. I can't tell what it's gonna be. Like if it's like, oh, you're bad for your face, or you're not good for your nails, or like something that I know is coming, I could like be like, okay. But it's the dogs, and I used to get me in a salon too, when I used to have to do those kind of dogs, when it would just be out of nowhere. They're like trying to get you. I was like, this is so bad for me. Like I cannot do these dogs.
Okay, for those listeners out there, if you're listening and wondering, could I do house call grooming? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Think about what would feel exciting or stressful and why. So I'm going to kind of leave that out there. Be sure to post in the comments below whether or not house call grooming might be something for you. All right, Karli. So let's talk a little bit about clients themselves. So, house call grooming requires being inside of people's homes, right? So, how do you build trust with new clients as far as, say, someone were to call, I've never done house grooming before? Like, what would you do to reassure them about what to expect and then how to build that trust with them?
Yeah. So usually, like when I'm talking to clients, I do like to text because I like to have everything in a text to like refer back to. But if it's like a first time client, I usually do a phone call so they can like actually talk to me and get to know me a little bit. And then whatever information they're telling me, I'm like, can you please text that to me because I need to have it as a text to reference back to it. And honestly think I get phone anxiety too, but I really think that like first phone call just to like know someone is talking to you and getting to know them a little bit really helps. I've been really lucky with my clients so far. There's been a couple people that are like nervous or they're like more so nervous about somebody grooming their dog. But I do think that being able to like watch, and usually I'm like, I don't mind if you watch at all. If the dog starts like acting a little crazy or just wanting to get to you, I'll ask you to like step out so they can't see you. But I'm always like, if you have a camera and you want to watch me, like feel free. And I really think even just that, like, oh, they're okay with me watching gives them like a lot of confidence. And they're like, okay. So I've had clients that like at first they were like really hovering and they're like, oh, is he okay? And I'm like, yeah, he's fine. And then the dog's fine. And now they're like, oh, I'm not home. Like, just go and grab him. Like, send me an invoice. Fine. And so it's really nice to like over time be able to build that trust and have people trust you with their babies because they are people's babies.
They are. That's what I think a lot of people don't understand with pets. They are family. They're absolutely family. I am curious because you said you have had a couple of clients that seem really nervous about, you coming over, and like you addressed, you're like, it's more so they were nervous about you grooming their dog just in general. But I am curious if you've ever had to turn a client away or even fire a client since you've been doing this.
I had one, only one. Yes, she was nice, but it was a situation where her dog was super protective of her and she would not leave. Like I kept asking her to. The first time I like really tried to let her stay in the room and she was like, I need to hold him. He needs to know I'm here so he'll be okay. But he was like trying to get me all the time. So that haircut looked awful. And I was like, I really don't want to do her again. She was very nice, but I was like, oh, that was so stressful. And then she called again and I was like, okay, I'll do it. But this time, like, I need to let her know that she can't be in the room. Like, the whole spiel again, like, if you have a camera, you want to watch, it's fine. But I'm going to have to try him without you in here because I think he's like resource guarding you. And sure enough, like, she was like, okay, I understand. And I was grooming him alone and he was doing really good. And I was like, that's exactly what it was. He was just resource guarding the owner. And then she like peeks her head in and she's like, how's he doing? And I was like, he's doing really good without you in here. I think I just like explained it to her. And she was like, okay. And then she lingers. And then she steps close. And I was like, hey, and he starts growling at me again. And I was like, I need you to go because like he's going to start acting poorly. And she goes, no. And I was like, no. And she said the craziest thing. She was like, she's like, if I smile, he knows he's safe. It's when I'm not smiling that he's going to start growling. And I was like,
That's not it.
oh yeah. I was like, I
Mm,
promise. I was like, I just like, it was a situation where I like didn't even know what to say. And I was like, oh, so he was doing good without you in here though. And then I had to be like, hey, I know that you really want to be near him. But I can't, like, he's at this point, he will bite me at one point. And I know you don't want to get, like, you want to be near him, but I can't groom him if you are. And that was the bye bye. But that was only one person.
yeah, it's really tough whenever you lay out your specific kind of requirements. I'm not say rules, but just requirements for your safety, for the pet safety, and everyone involved. And then the parents are like, "No, I know my dog better than you do. I know what they need or what they want." I'm like, "No, you really don't," because this is, yeah,
Would have been different. I would have felt very different if she left and he was still acting like that. I would have been like, okay, this is just a dog that is going to act like this. And I probably wouldn't be able to do him then anyway. But he was fine without her in there and she was like not having it. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not a good fit for you then. I'm sorry.
just out of curiosity, what breed was the pup?
He was a cockapoo. He was a
Oh,
cockapoo.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I've heard some stories about them too.
I
So
love
absolutely.
cockapoos, but be ornery sometimes.
Let's get into a little bit now into the business side of life, one of my favorite subjects. So, you mentioned in the past that the business side was one of the hardest parts, and I know you and I have actually met before for accounting and tax things. And so, what specifically for you has been the hardest part in terms of running the business?
Getting started, I think, was really hard. And I remember I called you or I emailed you. I was like, I need to get an LLC. And I
Mhm.
have this thing in my head where I'm like, that's easy. I can do it. And then I try to do it. And I'm like, this is so hard. I cannot. And I was like, I'll just save money. I'm going to try to file this LLC by myself. People
Yeah.
do it all the time. And I was like looking at it and I was like, I don't know what any of this means. Like, I need help. And so I was like, someone help me. And then God, you did. But
Mm,
that was really complicated. I think doing taxes also is, and I'm very paranoid about it. So I set aside 30% of everything. And
okay, that's more than enough.
yeah, so that's, everyone's like,
Hmm.
I don't know if you need to do that much. But for me, I was like, well, I want to have a safety net. And then
Hmm.
if I don't need it, I get a little bonus at the end of the year. So
There you go.
that was
Yep.
my thought process on it. But that can be a little complicated. I would absolutely recommend getting like help or like hiring a company for that because again,
Hmm.
I was like, I could do that. And then I started looking at it. I was like, no, no,
Yeah.
you can get
And
dogs, but you can't do this.
well, and honestly, full disclosure, the state of Texas LLC filings are a little bit more complex than most of the other states. And I guess you're just lucky. I, I don't really know, but they are a little bit more complex as far as actually getting into the system, logging in, and actually filing that. So absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so definitely if any of you out there are interested, Pet Biz Advisors, obviously we're here to help, setting up your businesses, setting up your books. If you have a financial system such as QuickBooks that you need help with, I always recommend to people, even if you do your own set of books, I always recommend that you have a professional, either a bookkeeper or an accountant, set up your chart of accounts for you because it's kind of the idea of garbage in, garbage out. If your books are not set up correctly, your reports aren't going to come out correctly, and it's going to make tax time a lot more complex. So always recommend. So even a couple of $100 to have pay someone to have it set up for you, then you're good to go. All right. So as far as, your approach to taxes, you said that you said around 30%. Again, I kind of agreement that might be a little bit more, but it gives you peace of mind, right? Because you're like, I know I'm not going to have to deal with this later. And then that's fine. Because as a LLC, you not only have income tax, but people don't realize that LLCs also have to pay self-employment tax, and that's 15.3% on itself. Yes, you do get a deductible portion of that, but it's still a pretty significant number that comes on your tax return. So, in terms of how you handle your financials and things like that, as far as do you use more of a software to help you out with that? Do you use your scheduling software or do you have an actual financial software that you use as well?
I got a financial software that I'm actually very happy with. It's called Keeper, and love Keeper. I got the premium, and it's like such a great investment. Um, and yeah, they go in, like, you link all your accounts, and then they can see what's deductible, what's not deductible. They can ask you what's deductible. What I like about it is they, with a premium service, you can like ask a bookkeeper and ask like a CPA questions about stuff. And yes, that's been so helpful for me. So yeah, I highly recommend getting like uh either a software or your own like CPA to do things, because it is way more complex than you would think. And yeah, it's been a great investment for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Keeper. Keeper actually is a type of software that us accountants and CPAs actually use as part of our tech stack. We actually can sometimes use that as well. So it's really cool that you found that yourself. So that's really good. And so I do recommend that. A lot of people think that if they come to someone like me or another bookkeeper, for example, I partner a lot with Transformational Solutions with Lauren Seagraves a lot, where she'll do a lot of the bookkeeping and I do a lot of the tax stuff for that. And so, but what we tell people, just do something. Like you don't have to necessarily work directly with one of us, even if you want to work with someone else. Or like you said, you have a nice financial software called Keeper that actually helps you maintain that. But please, please, please do not wait till the end of the year to try to get all of your financials together. That is a nightmare. And that's why a lot of people end up not filing taxes or they file taxes late. And so this causes a lot of penalties and interest that we really want all of the business owners to avoid having to experience. So all awesome. So that sounds like that would be a really good option for people who are more do-it-yourself selfers and who are able to do that. And so yeah, definitely check out Keeper. I'll put a link in the description below for everybody if you want to check that out. So, okay. So if you could go back to we'll say a little over a year ago when you were first getting started, what is maybe one thing that you would do differently in terms of running your business?
I think what a great question. I wish I did more research on set up, like setting up my equipment and how to bring it in and out at first, because it was a learning curve. At first, I was just carrying everything in, and I had like big bottles and stuff. And then I was like, every time I would like be really struggling to carry things in and out and making like multiple trips. And I kept being like, there has to be a better way. And then I'd get like a little thing that made something easier and then something else was harder. And I'd be like, there has to be a better way. And now I finally have a setup where like all my shampoos are in little travel bottles. I have like a big Milwaukee toolbox that holds like all of my stuff, like all my equipment, and a dolly that can go up and down stairs. And it's like a really easy setup now. It's really easy for me to load in and load out. I got it down to a science, but there was like a good 6 months where it was just me breaking my back carrying everything. And my clients would be like, there has to be an easier way. And I'd be like, I think you're right. I just need to figure it out. So I think being like doing a little bit more research and maybe taking that into account of like, oh, this is gonna kill your back if you keep working like this. Because for the first little bit, it kind of did.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you figured it out because yeah, my back hurts just thinking about it for you. So that would be very tough. So for those listening, just I want to pose a question. What's the one thing you wish you had learned before opening your business? So do me a favor, drop it in the comments below because I'd love to hear it. It could be either like running the business internally for financials, for taxes, for setup, or even like, Carly was just mentioning some of the things that she wished she would have like, researched more about how to actually set up the take up and take down type situation. So awesome. Okay, so let's look ahead a little bit. So, what is your favorite part about running your own business?
Oh, I love like the freedom of my schedule. Honestly, has been so amazing. It's great to be like, I want to take this weekend off because I want to do this thing, and I can just do it, and I don't have to like ask anybody or like accommodate anything too much. And yeah, I think the freedom of schedule has been awesome. Being able to say no to people, like if I one of my favorite things about my job, and I'm so lucky for this, is I love like all of my clients. And like even my difficult dogs, I really love them. And so it never really, it kind of sounds corny to be like, it doesn't feel like work, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it feels like I'm going to a friend's house and we're just going to like talk and I'm going to groom their dog. And then if someone's like giving me the heebie-jeebies or like, or it's kind of rude and it's just not going to be a good fit, I can just be like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go there and I'm not going to do that. And, you know, before you didn't really get to have that because, you know, business owners are wanting you to make a profit. And so they're like, well, suck it up because we need this. We need the money. But I get to make the call on if I need it that badly or not. So that's been really good. Like not being like, oh, I can't believe I have to go do these people today. I'm always really happy to go see my clients.
That's freeing in itself. It really is. I know, and you hit the nail on the head whenever you said, I don't work for someone who's telling me, well, too bad, we need the money, suck it up and just do your job type thing. You actually get to make that call. And, you know, that's really the perk about, you know, running your own business. And that's why a lot of people do get into self-employment because they want that flexibility in their own schedules. So what would you say, Karli, to another groomer who's feeling stuck and considering something like Housecall grooming?
I honestly, there's some things that I feel like people wouldn't like. The biggest one is probably people watching. But I was feeling a little stuck with, I think I felt stuck between any shop I went to or any company I went to. I would either have a really great boss, but the pay wasn't what I wanted, or the pay was what I wanted, but my boss sucked. And it was like just this endless loop of that. Like I'd go to another place, I'm like, finally, I fit in here and I love this boss. And the pay wasn't very good.
Sure.
So going out on my own, and to the point where I was like, I think I'm just going to I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get a communications degree, I'm just going to switch careers altogether. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, I was stuck. I'm tired of being stuck in this loop. And then this thing kind of happened to me, and I was like, because it was frustrating. I love grooming, but I wanted to make more, and I felt like I really couldn't. I was like hitting a ceiling. So this was like such a blessing, I feel like, and it's been such a good switch for me. And something I tell other groomers if they're feeling stuck in a salon or anywhere is you can try things. You're always going to be wanted as a dog groomer in a salon because there's always a need for a dog groomer. Yeah. So like if you're ever feeling like really stuck and miserable somewhere, like you have a skilled trade that you can go and find something else, or you can go and try something else. And if it doesn't work, you have your skilled trade to fall back on. So it is kind of scary to take chances, but sometimes it really pays off. And I always try to have a safety net for like, if it doesn't work, can I go back or not go back, but can I go somewhere else? But yeah, if you're feeling really stuck, I would absolutely try something new. Even if it's like I'm stuck in a salon, I don't like it, you could try mobile. Or if you wanna try your own business, Housecall has been awesome for me. It's a lot of talking to people and you know, a lot of driving, a lot of talking to people. But if you don't mind that, like I love my job so much.
yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Karli, for being here and sharing your story with us today. I love the fact that you've taken the non-traditional path and made it work for you and your clients. So you've shown us that building a business doesn't always have to look one way. It just has to work for you, right? You just decide what you want and how you want it to look. So if you're listening and curious about Housecall grooming or solo business ownership, I hope today's episode gives you the permission to explore what it might look like in your world. And if you want support along the way, you can come join us inside the Pet Biz Collective on Facebook. It's a group on Facebook that we have. We're having real conversations about how to build businesses that feel right for us. And coming soon is our in-depth Pet Biz community that will feature accountants, bookkeepers, HR specialists, and business coaches that will help you run the business of your dreams. Remember to hit that like button, share, and subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And we will talk with you next time. Karli, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.